Hello and welcome to World News. I'm Randolf Jamias for the latest stories. A small twin-engine plane crashed in the parking lot in Fort Lauderdale, Florida on Friday. The Federal Aviation Administration said that the Piper PA-31 aircraft departed from runway 8 at Fort Lauderdale Executive Airport and crashed into a warehouse nearby. Local media reported the plane appeared to have crashed on the side of a building and came down in a parking lot. At least 10 cars were left charred. Firefighters were able to contain the blaze, but authorities could not confirm if there were any casualties in the accident. In other towns, or in other news, two wind-driven wildfires sprang up in northern Colorado on Friday, prompting the evacuation of about 50 residents and signaling an early start to the wildfire season in the parched Rocky Mountain West. The larger of the two blazes that prompted the evacuations, the Soldier Canyon Fire, had charred about 800 acres near Lowry State Park. No structures have been lost and no injuries have been reported. A second, smaller fire broke out west of the town of La Porte, 6 miles north of Fort Collins. Officials had no estimate on its size. The causes of the fires were under investigation on Friday. All of Colorado is experiencing moderate to exceptional drought conditions, according to the U.S. Drought Monitor. It was the second largest wildfire on record in Colorado. Meanwhile, Hungary deployed tanks to reach thousands of motorists trapped in heavy snow on Friday as a sudden cold snap and high wind struck parts of the Balkans, Bulgaria, and Hungary, leaving more than one person dead. Heavy snow left people stranded in cars, buses, and trains through the night, and strong winds cut off dozens of towns and villages in Hungary. The government said it had sent in tanks and other military vehicles with Caterpillar tracks. After a relatively mild winter for much of the region, almost 200,000 people in Hungary, Bulgaria, and Slovakia were left shivering without electricity on Friday. Heavy rain also hit parts of Serbia and Bosnia. In Israel, one runner died and dozens of other participants were hospitalized after collapsing on Friday during a half-marathon in Tel Aviv, held in unseasonably hot weather, medical officials said. Israel's ambulance service said it treated more than 60 runners who suffered heat stroke, dehydration, and minor injuries. The Tel Aviv municipality had postponed the full 42-kilometer race because of hot weather forecast for Friday, but went ahead with the half-marathon and other shorter races. Temperatures climbed at midday to 33 degrees Celsius in the seaside city. 35,000 runners took part in the half-marathon, with 150,000 spectators lining the route to cheer them on. Now in Brazil, thousands of fish went belly up in a Rio de Janeiro lagoon this week after stormy weather and other factors caused oxygen levels to drop in the water. The dead fish began floating to the top of the water on Tuesday, and by Friday, city workers had pulled more than 65,000 metric tons of dead fish from the Rodrigo de Freitas lagoon in South Rio. The city's environmental office blamed the deaths on a number of factors, which led oxygen levels in the water to dramatically drop. Biologist Mario Moscatelli said more must be done to preserve marine life and birds that depend on the cleanliness of the lagoon. Workers had planned to take advantage of an afternoon high tide to allow more seawater to pass through a channel connecting it to the Atlantic Ocean in an effort to oxygenate the water as they try to stem the die-off. A Russian Soyuz capsule made a bullseye landing in the steppes of Kazakhstan on Saturday, March 16, delivering a Russian-American trio from the International Space Station, a day after its originally scheduled touchdown was delayed by foul weather. NASA's Kevin Ford and Russian cosmonauts Oleg Novitsky and Yevgeny Terelkin landed in cloudy weather at 7:06 a.m. Moscow time, northeast of the town of Arkalyk. They had spent 144 days aboard the multinational ISS on their space journey of almost 61 million miles. NASA television said the orbit burn and other events during the descent had gone flawlessly. It said the capsule had landed upright, almost hitting its bullseye target in the thick fog. The three smiling astronauts were seated on semi-reclined chairs and covered with blue thermal blankets. They were then carried to a nearby inflatable medical tent. And in sports news, U.S. Open champion Andy Murray made a slew of unforced errors as he was knocked out of the BNP Paribas Open quarterfinals by Argentina's Juan Martín del Potro on Friday. Though the British world number 3 edged a close first set 7-5 on the tiebreak, he lost serve once in the second and 3 times in the third to make a premature exit from the ATP Masters 1000 event. 7th-seeded Del Potro will next face world number 1 Novak Djokovic, who was barely tested as he demolished Jo-Wilfried Tsonga 6-3, 6-1 earlier on Friday to extend his unbeaten run to 22 matches. Top-seed Djokovic delivered a ruthless display against the 8th-seeded Frenchman Tsonga in the first match of the day, breaking his error-prone opponent twice in each set and not dropping a single point on his own serve in the second set. And in golf, PGA Tour rookie Sean Stefani held his nerve as the field closed in on him to retain the outright lead after the second round of the Tampa Bay Championship on Friday. Leading by 2 shots overnight, Stefani followed his opening round 65 with a 1-under par 70 at the Copperhead layout in Innisbrook Resort to reach the halfway stage at 7 under. The 31-year-old briefly lost his lead but regained it when he drained a 14-foot birdie putt on the 15th hole. Stefani finished the day in front, but his lead was cut in half as Australia's Adam Scott and South Korea's KJ Choi both moved to 6 under. Scott shot a flawless 66, while Choi, already a double winner of the Tampa Bay Championship, carded the 67, including an eagle 3 at the first hole. Scott finished third behind Tiger Woods at last week's Honda Classic and is back in form after his meltdown at last year's British Open. Scott bogeyed the last 4 holes to allow South Africa's Ernie Els to slip past him and win by a stroke. 4 players, Brian Harman, Harris English, Jason Duffner, and Peter Tomasolo, finished tied for 4th at -5. Duffner matched Scott's 66, while Harman and English both bogeyed their final holes to miss out on the chance to finish higher. Spain's Sergio Garcia shot a 67 to finish within 3 shots of the lead, while the defending champion Britain's Luke Donald shot a 72 to finish at even par alongside U.S. Open champion Webb Simpson. And that ends the stories. Thanks for the company and see you again.